yourself on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Ascension Parish Board of Adjustments is called to order. My name is James Cecil. From my right, the roll call of members. Vice Chairman Howard Dalton.
Present.
Mr. Brad Walker.
Present.
Alvin Madare.
Here.
And to my left, Mr. David LeBlanc.
Here.
Not present tonight is Miss Kathy Desidere and Mr. Bryce Cox. At this time, we're going to have public comment period. First of all, I'd like to make an announcement. If you're here tonight for the Parks of Dutchtown second filing, they withdrew, so they will not be presenting this tonight. So if anybody's here for that, go home. Next on the list is Lakeview Estate Subdivision, the third filing. If you're here for that, they've also withdrew. They're going to do something else. This time, I'm still public comment period. If you're here to for or against any thing on the agenda tonight, make a suggestion that you hold those comments until that agenda comes up. The reason for this public comment period is there anything this board or anybody in the parish can help you out, or you have a comment, whether it's a disagreements or anything else? No? At this time, I do like to thank the guys behind the counter, behind the booth, the IT people. They're doing an excellent job in informing Ascension Parish, and I do want to give them a gratitude and thanks for a job well done. We have no comments. Moving on with the agenda. Has every board member had the time to read over the minutes and the written decisions?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes for June the 26th of 2007?
So moved.
Second.
Any opposition? No opposition. Motion carries. Acceptance of the written decision for the June the 26th of 2007 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
No opposition. Motion carries. Public hearing now for ID number 1755.07, George Sheets Subdivision, Lot 10E, for Toby Ragas, located on the south side of Travis Road, approximately 728 feet east of LA Highway 935.
Yes, sir.
You want to step from the podium, please, sir?
Right here?
Yes, sir. Also sign in, please.
Okay. Right here.
Sign in and state your name.
Toby Ragas.
Go ahead, sir. State what you're requesting.
My request is it's a hardship case. What I got, my sister-in-law, my wife's twin sister, is in a bad situation around the Lafayette area. She had an ugly divorce, and it's a bad situation. But anyway, we're looking to help her out, and what I want to do is put a mobile home in the back of my house on my property for a period of time to let her get her kids in some good schools around here, get them in Santa Maria, and let her find a good job, and until she's comfortable with the place and can afford to get her own piece of property.
And does the board members have any questions at this time?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you to come mark on this map which lot's yours and where you would like to position the trailer at on that lot?
Sure.
Yeah, this is 10E, right? 10E is that correct?
10E.
That's what you're showing, 10E, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, on your application, you wrote 10E.
Yeah, okay. In other words, it's going to sit approximately right there. And my house is sitting, like this.
Okay.
There's nothing but woods in the back. Yeah. I mean,
Any other board members have any further questions at this time before we open the public hearing?
Sir, who owns what's on lots 10F and 10D adjacent to your property?
and F and D, can I look at the number?
Well, that's on either side of you.
F and D, 10F is a double wide trailer. It's John Ballard. And 10D is a brick home. It's a Charbonnets. Both of them are aware of what I'm doing and don't have a problem with it. In other words, anything I do is going to look good. I'm not, it's going to be upgraded, I have a deck coming off the back of my house, and I'm going to tie that deck into the trailer, and have a humongous deck back there, so it's going to look nice. It's going to bring up the value, if anything.
Okay, sir. Let me ask Ms. June, my standard questioning, I know it's so repetitious, but all the letters were sent out, and you've received that they've had notification. That's correct? Thank you.
Motion to open public hearing?
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request?
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Public hearing is now closed. Any further discussion by this board? David?
What's the size? Do you know the size, Mr. Toby, of the mobile home that you plan to get in there?
No, we haven't purchased it yet. She's going to come out this weekend. I'm going to get her and all her stuff, and we're going to put her stuff in storage, and she's going to stay in the home with us, and we're going to start shopping for something.
How are you going to put in the bring in the utilities?
The utilities? Well, I already have a site for to where the sewer's going to run.
Right.
I got that laid out, no problem, and electric pole is right there.
Okay.
All I need is a meter pole on side
So
of it.
no extraneous or extenuating circumstances to bring in utilities that
No.
you're aware of? Okay.
No problem.
Any other further questions? No further questions? Do I have a motion on the floor right now?
I make a motion to approve the request. I see that it's a family member or sister, and I don't see anything out of the ordinary here, so I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept as written. We also have a second by Mr. Alvin Adair. Any opposition? No opposition? Motion carries, sir. Your variance is granted.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is 1756.07 Cedar Grove subdivision, lot number 20, located on the south side of Conifer Drive, approximately 2,300 feet east of Roddy Road.
Hi, Barrett Oakland here. I'm asking for a 1-foot variance on the front building line.
I'm sorry, your name, sir?
Barrett Oakland.
Okay.
And I'm with Oakland Homes, and I'm asking for a 1-foot variance on the front building line.
Any questions by the board members?
Yes, sir. Are you the builder?
Yes, sir.
You're a licensed contractor.
Yes, sir.
Why'd you pour the slab too close to the building line?
It's a 1/4 inch over the line, and half the lot is located in a ditch. And when the property corners were located, they were offset.
I understand what you're telling me, but you didn't come before this board for the variance before you poured the concrete, is my question. Why didn't you get the variance before? Now you're asking us to forgive something that you've done.
Yes, sir. We made an unintentional error. We didn't mean to do it.
Well, the roof is a foot over, and it's well known that nothing can extend into that building setback, so it looks to me like you poured it, and now you're asking us to forgive that.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions about the amendment?
Is it just a slab? Nothing on it? No framing at all?
No, after I noticed, once I got the slab survey and noticed there was a 1/4 inch over, I shut construction down.
So at what point did you shut it down? Has it got a frame on it or not?
No, sir.
So it's just a flat slab?
Just a slab.
Well, once you build a structure, you're going to have a 1 foot overhang, not a 1/4 inch.
That's why I'm asking for a 1 foot
The
variance.
roof is going to extend into the building line 1 foot. This is not a 1/4 inch variance you're asking.
No, I'm asking for a 1 foot variance.
I
The slab's a
understand.
1/4 inch. The overhang will be 11 inches. That'll put me right at a foot over the building line. So the roof would be on a 24-foot building line rather than a 25.
Well, am I correct in understanding? I'm trying to get this straight. Is the slab adjacent to the building line, or is it the roof that's going to be over? I'm a
The
little
roof is going to be over.
The roof, but
Yes,
not
sir.
the slab. The slab is about 11 inches back from the building line.
Correct.
So you're really asking for a 1 inch variance.
Yeah. Well, no.
No, it's a 1/4 inch
1
from the
foot.
building line.
1 foot.
Because once the roof's
gonna be
on
a
it, then it's
1 foot
going to
overhang.
overhang the building line.
Right. He's asking for 1 foot.
Yes, 1 foot.
So the roof is going to actually overhang.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, if it's constructed without a variance, it will overhang.
Yeah,
Will
without
it overhang a foot or a 1/4 inch?
No,
A
it'll
foot.
overhang,
1 foot.
well, it'll do a little bit more than that. Well, he's 11 and, it's a 1 foot overhang, and you're almost a 1/4 inch. You're still 1/4 inch off the line now. He'll be almost a foot.
11 and
overhang.
3/4 inches.
Yes.
That's the point I wanted to make clear. You poured the slab in the wrong place to begin with.
Yes, sir.
Not a 1/4 inch, a foot.
No.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's why I wanted to find out, because if he was a homeowner, I could understand that kind of mistake. You're doing it yourself and not a professional contractor.
Who set the stakes that y'all went off of?
WJ Quantmont.
Well, they know better.
Actually, all they did was locate the stakes. The stakes were set by whoever developed the subdivision.
Well, that's the property stakes,
Yes, sir.
the corners of the lot, which Quitmont,
And-
if they did the plat here, they should have worked from those
The
stakes.
corners were offset 8.5 feet, so the house would have been on a skew if we would have went off the stakes. So we squared the house up with the road, and we just made an error.
Well, my point is, you have to have a pre-pour survey, do you not?
No, sir.
That's not a requirement?
No.
No, sir.
I was thinking, why?
We've tried a long time to get it, but it's not.
I mean, if the slab would have never been surveyed, you would never know. But when I got the slab surveyed back and noticed it, that's why I brought it to the parish's attention.
I think the only reason they surveyed the slab is for the height, for the flood elevation.
Which disclosed this, yeah.
I understand if he was making it parallel with the road, but where you could see.
I don't know if that disclosed this problem. You brought it to our attention.
Yes,
did you
sir.
not?
Yes, sir.
I mean, for the elevation for flooding, that didn't have anything to do with it being
y'all-
too close to the property.
I brought it to the attention just out of good faith.
Well, I understand. Right. But what I'm saying is the way Howard, when you were saying, like, that's the only reason this was discovered, which you're saying that you discovered
Yes,
it.
sir. I brought it to y'all's attention out of good faith. Not, yeah.
Let's go to public hearing, and then we're going to give you a chance to discuss afterward.
Motion to open public hearing?
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request? Go ahead and close.
Motion to close
Sir.
public hearing?
We have one out there.
We have one person.
Yes.
Could you come up and sign in, please? And approach the podium? State your name, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Stephen McGowan. New resident in Conifer Drive. I saw the sign out front that said that this would be in hearing today, so I went eyeball it, and I don't have measurements on anything. I just wanted to come hear how this process took place. Gentleman here saying it's a foot, just eyeballs now. Looks more of 2 feet. off of the house that's directly across the ditch from it. So I wanted to come and listen, and I hear him saying it's like he's only asking for a foot, but I just wanted to say that I don't have my measurements now. I wanted to say that too, but it looks more like 2 foot to me. And that's just all I wanted to say.
Okay. All right. Obviously, you're against him proceeding with this.
The rules in the rules I signed when I bought my home perfectly state, the way things have to be, and this house is going to be a little bit different. And as a property owner of my home, I'd like my values to stay up. I'd like my neighborhood to be the best that it can be, and that's why I wanted to attend tonight.
Okay. Is that it, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
That's all
sir.
I wanted to say. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request? Close public hearing, please.
So,
Second.
Public hearing is now closed. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
Somebody went out there and measured?
No, we've not gone out and measured. We just have the survey by the surveyor, and he is correct. He brought this to our attention. This was not discovered by anyone performing a part of the permitting process. He evidently discovered he'd made this mistake and brought it to our attention.
but there's no requirement for a pre-pour survey to ensure the slab's in the right place.
No.
Well, there ought to be.
Well, that's true. That's true in subdivisions, but that may not be true on a larger piece of property where you can just sit something where you would want.
This is not a.
No, this is not.
About a 1/4 acre lot, so that's not a larger piece of property by any means.
And that's something I will pass those comments on to the Planning and Zoning Commission and see if that needs to be included in any
But we
upgrades.
can also make a recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission to further.
Right.
What is the first inspection that comes on this house?
The slab inspection itself would be the first one.
And that's for elevation?
No, the elevation would be first. Well, that's true. The plumbing would take place first, underground plumbing, then the slab.
So during the underground plumbing, they don't do anything as far as.
No, they don't.
Okay.
They don't check the building line.
When the slab is inspected, is it inspected for elevation and or to include the restrictions?
The slab is inspected for elevation versus whatever the floodplain, whatever our minimum requirements are, and the condition of the slab. But they
For
do
the
not
25
they do not check the location that I'm aware of in terms of the building line.
What are they checking it for?
Just elevation, I guess.
Just
Well, they check the slab to make sure it's got enough steel in it for one thing before they pour it. In
Okay.
most cases, but they also check to make sure the plumbing comes through correctly, that it's finished right, that it's not honeycombed, all that kind of thing.
Okay, so maybe it's just submitting a recommendation for them to add the location to all the other things they check on the slab.
They check a lot.
Already.
It amazes me.
And they have the site plan, and so they know about where it's supposed to sit. And generally speaking, if it were 2 feet off, I would think, yeah, they'd probably recognize it. But if it's only like a few inches, they may not pick up one. The fact that it's a foot closer to the road than the house next door isn't necessarily significant at all. It kind of depends on the layout of the house.
I'm just concerned that we've obviously got a process here that's flawed, because here this gentleman's pouring his slab right up to the building line when we all know that the house cannot extend. You can have your slab there, but the roof can't extend into the building setback line. So we have an obvious deficiency here in our process.
That's true, but the reality is that probably 99% of the time that is not an issue, because they do not make a mistake on the 25-foot setback line. We do have people that make mistakes in their backyard on the easements, but not very often up on the front. And I don't know if the process is flawed. I think that something broke down when they were measuring the 25-foot setback line.
Well, they measured to the slab instead of the eave of the house. That's pretty obvious what happened.
Well, they didn't measure. My thought would be the mistake was made in the 25-foot line from the edge of the property, because that's where it is. From the edge of the property, 25 foot back is where the building line is. And somehow that line got communicated or calculated incorrectly. And that wasn't on our department or an inspection fee.
Would the 8.59 offset have contributed in any ways to this?
Yes, sir.
It could have.
It did. Because that you can see, it shows how the corners are skewed, so we squared it up with the road, and that's kind of where we made an error.
Right. Mr. Alcan, would you care to address, and you also, we did have another neighbor come up and talk about an eyeball, and I understand eyeballs are not rulers, but eyeballs are fairly accurate too. If you're going to line up a roof line, it's pretty easy to look down the roof line and see. Is there some way we can address that discrepancy, or at least take a look at that as well? He had a valid comment, I thought.
The slab survey shows exactly where we at, so it's really not 2 foot.
The only thing that concerns me is that this is the same people that also made the mistake on the offset. Are we not talking about the same people that did this one that we're looking at right here versus when y'all first located the markers?
There's 2 different surveyors.
2 different surveyors?
Yes, the surveyors I used to locate the corners just went out there and found the property pins that were put in when the subdivision was developed.
Okay.
But they didn't tell me, you know, it's set back 8.5 foot. So when I went out there to form it up, the 2 corners had a skewed. So instead of forming up the house skewed on the lot, we squared it with the street, and that's where we lost our measurement.
Any further discussion?
More administrative. Let's say we approve the 1 foot today. Is there a final inspection to address that 1 foot after the building's completed, to find out in fact that it was in fact 2 feet?
Well, I can certainly, we can, as a part of your variance, you can ask that be ascertained on final inspection that in fact that the overhang is within the variance amount that you granted. Now, versus whether it's 2 foot off of what the guy next door's house is, I guess we could calculate that. But the reality is, if we go down that 25-foot building setback line, we were to line up on it, what we would find if we could see every house on that street is that we would find this one's hanging over a little bit, and some of them will be right on the 25-foot setback line, and some of them will be 5 foot, be 30 foot off of it, and they'll be a different, depending on the layout of the house and where somebody wants to situate it. It may be up on the 25 foot, it may be back.
Sure.
This one will end up 1 foot basically over, assuming you grab the variance. Does that diminish the quality of the neighborhood?
Well, I just felt an obligation not only to address Mr. Alcan, but Mr. Steve, who also spoke as a neighbor and a public citizen as well.
Any other further discussion?
I'm trying to figure something out.
But even with the building line, you can push it back. Like you were saying, have one at 30 foot, one at 28 foot, or whatever, depending on the layout of the house.
This is obviously not an issue of, too much house for property, so he needed to move up like a lot of them are that you see on the back for drainage. They just messed up where the building line was to begin with.
That's
By less than a foot.
By less than a foot.
The only thing that concerns me, though, is we are talking about, if it's denied, a slab's being torn up.
Well, that's my point.
And
he did come to your...
Exactly.
so that's why I want to make sure that, if we have all our facts now, do it. Otherwise, postpone it to next month, maybe, and see if we can't get some clear information. So that's...
What? My point would be, if the house is this many inches off that building setback line, do you want us to go out and survey? If you're asking us to go out and actually survey the lot and see where that slab is, I mean, I guess we can get somebody to do that, but we're pretty confident with the way that he's come in with it, that, it's there where the line, and Quint Mall tells me that's where the slab is. I believe Quint Mall's correct.
Well, I believe that's where the slab is. It's just my concern is the slab was poured at the building line and was not poured sufficiently far back to allow for the roof overhang to not intrude into that. That's my point.
Well, I think their point, what they're saying, they were wrong about the building line where they thought
Yes,
it was
sir,
to begin
we're
with.
wrong.
And since then, they've gone out and had it surveyed and found exactly where the thing is. And that's why they know they're off that much.
So you didn't have a good survey to begin with, then, I guess.
I didn't have the property corners weren't located properly.
If I can make a comment, if you attach those property corners, like they were out there where they were circling and all the way, he'd be way off. If
Yeah.
you do like this, and I think that's, if you look, if you did it like this is where he thought the survey line.
I understand.
Well, he'd be way off that
Right.
walkway.
Well-
I understand, but my question is, wouldn't there be a 25-foot build line from this marker out here?
That's the property
So that, yeah, it would be here, so he'd be
Right, but he
way,
wouldn't be,
he'd be way short, he'd be way,
no, but what I'm saying is where the house is now, it's not, wouldn't it not coming into the build line if it come?
no, because you'd have 25
Diagonally.
at that diagonal line.
So that would only be part of the house.
Probably none of it, because even
That kind of angle,
That's
I don't
almost
think
in the
any of it
middle.
will be there.
that, look. if
But
you-
is that circle thing the stake that they marked and they went by, or was it? 'Cause I
That's
don't
the-
see,
that's
I
the
don't see
marker
the
that was out
dark
there.
one here, okay,
See it in the
to
back
say
there
that that's
wrong,
where they
too.
go. So we're saying is they marked
Yeah, he
that
says it on the legend. It says,
on the legend saying there was a
legend, it says,
Set iron pipe.
pipe, 1/2 inch. Yeah, he said it, they had an iron pipe sitting
But
out there.
where does it tell him that there was an offset? So that he would have known that was
When he did this
offset.
survey, he found the offset.
So the original surveyor sounds like it sounds like the original surveyor dropped the ball.
The original surveyor appears, with that one iron pipe out in the middle of the road, appears to have made a mistake.
What it appears to be.
That's what just
Because, I mean, if they would have found the pipe, but then wouldn't have known about the offset from some kind of plans for the whole development, they wouldn't have known to move it to the offset.
Right.
Any further discussion, Jim? Looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, as much as I don't like to on this type of thing, I would have moved that we approve this because it appears this contractor has operated in good faith and tried to do the right thing. But I would also caution you, sir, to be aware of this in the future because
Yes, sir.
apparently these surveyors aren't doing as good a job as they could be. So my motion is this be approved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve as written. Any opposition?
No.
No opposition? Motion carries. Your variance is granted, sir, by 1 foot.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is 175707 Ashland Industrial Park, Lot Y1B, proposed Section 1T10S R2E, SE Land District for Sealy Ashland LLC. It's located on the east side of Ashland Road, approximately 1,050 feet south of Highway LA 30. State your name, sir.
I'm Dan Poulin. And
Are you're representing Sealy, right?
yeah, I'm with Sealy. This came before your group here, I think, 2 months ago or maybe 3 months ago, and this group offered a possible compromise or solution, and we redrew it up that way, and we came back.
Okay.
We're requesting a variance of the minimum lot frontage, and we wanted the variance so that we could provide a 50-foot right-of-way for a concrete access road to our Class A 147,000 square foot tilt wall concrete facility off of Ashland Road. Like I said, we had our representatives here before you before, and this group offered a 75-foot compromise. We had our surveyors draw that up and represent it, and that's where we are today, sir.
So you're looking at a 75.
Yeah,
compromise,
75.
Well, now we talking about 75. Now we were talking about 75 all the way to the back, not necessarily the little notch out for 75, if I remember right.
That's not what my guy told me. I was in Atlanta that night. I wasn't here. Our representative.
So they sent you, right?
Well,
I'm sorry about that.
The problem is that it looked like it was too big of an issue. Development in the back for if it was going to be industrial for 18-wheelers and stuff, and to only have a 50-foot road back there. So we had talked about 75 feet.
well,
But-
this is a similar. But we've built 2 other buildings exactly like this, and the 50-foot right-of-way actually provides for a full 33-foot standard industrial park size road that we have in other industrial parks that we have. So it's actually plenty adequate for the road that goes back to the warehouse. We have a building exactly like this with the exact same situation on Exchequer Drive in the Industrialplex. I know that's not your parish, but the building's a very beautiful addition to the community there. And we have another one down on the other side of Industrialplex with the exact same situation. Just as an example, we own most of James Business Park, which is in St. Rose, Louisiana. That's a 200-acre business park designed for trucks and warehouses. And those roads, all the roads in the park sit on a 50-foot right-of-way, and they have a 33-foot road with a rollover curb. And that's standard construction for a road. If we had the 75 or 100 feet, we wouldn't use but more than the 33 feet.
Any other further questions by board members? Let's go ahead and open public hearing, please.
I've got some. I think you probably have all the plans, huh?
Yes, sir.
I've got a rendering of the building and some plans.
Can we see the rendering of the
Yeah.
building?
Yeah.
If you would like to show those, that'd be fine.
The building's almost complete. It's a $7.5 million project. We leased to Fortune 500 companies.
I don't know if you guys have this, but that's the layout. That shows how the building fits on the lot.
Does this lot back here have access to the front road?
No, that's all of that lot is for excess trailer parking. These days, you almost can't build a warehouse unless you have excess trailer parking.
So like this is trailer parking,
Those are trailer
or
parking.
this?
And that whole lot's for more trailer parking. We're only building on a half of it or a third of it right now. So that lot stays with the project for excess trailer parking.
And how wide your road?
The road it varies. It goes from 33 feet on both ends down to 25 feet in the middle.
Yeah.
Do we have any further discussion? I'm going to go ahead and open up public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request? Go ahead and close public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Public hearing is now closed. Any further discussion, Mr. Brad? I see a lot of concern over there.
No, I mean, it addresses my concern. It makes a lot different, but, I mean, the thing we were worried about was 2 18-wheelers turning in and just the turn radius coming into the facility.
Was that still your concern?
Well, I mean, technically they have it where they can do a turn radius now.
Yeah, it's a 25-foot turn radius, which is spec for for trailer trucks. It's what we had at the other building.
Any other further discussion?
How are you doing the drain, just for my own information, how are you going to handle the drainage on that concrete, that much concrete? Is it draining down side, is it draining back towards Ashland Road, or is it being handled on site through some?
I'm not sure of all the particulars, but all that's been, designed and approved.
Still, that'd be under the permit process.
It's gone all the way
So,
through the permit process.
yeah, it'd be under the permit
The
process.
building's
and all
almost
he wants is
complete.
the
It's,
variance.
it's a state-of-the-art facility. It's got 8-inch concrete truck courts.
And that's fine. That
Yeah.
all you're here
Yeah.
is just for the variance. Do we have a motion on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I would approve that the motion be approved as written, because they have increased the front footage out there to more than allow enough clearance for an 18-wheeler for the turn radius.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. David LeBlanc. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept as written. Any opposition? No opposition. Motion carries. Variance is granted, sir.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Okay, moving straight on to 1762 Adam Douglas partition. This is located on the southeast corner of LA Highway 929 and LA Highway 930. Okay, state your name and state what you're requesting.
Yes, sir. Joe Percival.
Go ahead, sir. What's your request?
This is a residential lot. Ascension Parish guideline allows a daycare facility to be placed on a residential lot with a minimum square footage of 15 or maximum square footage of 1,500 square feet. I am requesting a variance to place up to a 9,375 square foot daycare on this facility. And if I may, I have a preliminary site plan that I'd like to show you.
Yes, sir.
These all the same? Yes, sir. What we're proposing is to have the building, we're going to be putting in a steel building with entrances and exits on both 929 and 930. As you can see there from the site plan. If you look at the second piece of paper I gave you, I looked at the 70769 zip code area, looking at all the daycare facilities which are listed, their addresses on there's 14 daycare facilities in 70769 zip code area. If you look at most of them are in a residential area, not on commercial property or mixed-use property. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
At this time, did any board member have any questions that Mr. Brad?
No, I'll talk about mine later.
No questions, then let's go ahead and open public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing?
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request? The sign-in sheet is right here, ma'am, and once you approach the podium, please state your name.
My name is Minister Bernadette Jackson, and I am a resident on Highway 929, and I also own property at the corner 929 and 930. My question is of how large a building that they want to put there, and also about the traffic. On Highway 929, we have enough of traffic already. In the mornings, people going to work from the subdivisions, And the traffic is from Narrow Line Highway all the way to 42 back there. So my concern was with the traffic-wise, either widen the street, 929, or Dago Road. He said 930, but that would probably be Dago Road. Dago Road. And so that would either need to be widened or something need to be did for transportation.
Any board member had any questions for this young lady? No questions?
Your church
I was
is the one
also,
that's- your church-
also would like to know the capacity of the building and how large a building.
He's saying the capacity of the building's 9,300 square feet.
9375.
9,375. Yeah. At 9,375, how many kids can you have?
Anywhere from 150 to 175.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute.
1,500 plus 8,000.
Wait a minute.
I got 9.
The application says 9,600 square feet. The plat plan you just handed us says the building is 9,375, and the typed up variance request says 9,600. So what's the real true number?
It was going to be a 9,600, 80 by 120, but once looking at the specs of the building, that was a month ago, once you looked at the specs of the building and where you had to put bay for still area, for a steel building, the bay fell within the way you had to do it, it ended up being 9,375.
And you came upon that piece of information when?
Once we sort of, after I submitted the request,
The request was submitted prior.
On the 19th of June. Okay, so you really got a 9375 building. So you're looking for a 7875 variance as opposed to 8,000. Correct?
That is correct.
yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody you had a question for this young lady?
Yes, ma'am. Your church is located just up Daigle Road.
No, I'm across the street from the church. The property
Okay,
across
right.
the street
And there's,
from the
I just
church.
wonder if you're affiliated with the little church just further up the
Oh,
road.
no, I'm not.
Okay, I just happened to know there was a church there. And I
Yes,
just thought
it
I'd
is
ask.
a church there.
Okay. Any further questions for this young lady? No? Thank you, ma'am.
You're
Appreciate it. Anybody else would like to step up, ma'am, and sign in?
I oppose for him rebuilding the daycare there on 929 Dago Road.
And your reasoning for that, ma'am?
We have owner of the property. Owner of the property.
Oh, you're owner of a property?
Yes, sir. So we just want to get the petition done to build it there.
You're owner of which property?
Dago Road,
No, where on Daigle Road?
929, the corner.
You own this property?
Yes, sir.
Well, don't sell it to him.
We're not. We're just going to be at a daycare there. We're trying to get it, petition to get it done.
Wait a minute, are you
okay.
for or against
Yeah,
it?
I'm in favor of it.
You're in favor of.
Yes,
You're
sir.
speaking in favor of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This gentleman request. You kind of confused
Oh,
us a little
okay. I'm
bit.
sorry. I'm in favor of
That's
it.
that's okay, but we understand now. That's fine.
It says on here the application, the owner is Donald Douglas.
Yeah.
Are you related?
That's my husband.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in the audience like to speak in favor of or against this gentleman's request? Close public hearing, please.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second. Public hearing now closed. Any further questions by this board? Go ahead, Mr.
Yep.
Brad.
Usually we have daycares. I'm okay with some of this, but with restrictions. One, if I'm not mistaken, we can restrict it that it is a daycare, even though we are approving this amount, to make sure it's not another type of commercial property. The other thing is kind of like traffic flow, because of what they said, traffic flow. Is there an in and an out And are we going one way with it?
Yeah, let me address a couple of those. The in would be on 929 Causey Road, and the out would be on Dago Road. Now, daycare facility is only open Monday through Friday, so this would impose no restrictions on the weekend for anybody. She says her church, most churches are Sunday, Wednesday night. Daycares operate 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Nobody will be at the property on the weekend.
Now, as far as the yard for, like, say, kids want to play in things, are we talking about in the back, or are we talking about in the front?
The yard will be in the rear of the building, all on the side, on the east side and the south side of the building.
Okay, so nothing will be in the front, so in case
That
they
is
want to
correct.
make a turn lane on 929 or Daigle, you'll be open to the property for that in the front, with it would not affect this.
That is correct. That whole front area is just, there will be nothing in that kind of triangle area. There'll be nothing there, maybe some landscaping.
How are you going to enforce the automobiles entering from 929, and how are you going to make sure that happens? Because my concern is there's a lot of traffic out there on that road. In fact, on both of those, but more on Causey Road. And we certainly don't want vehicles backing up out into the road, creating a traffic jam.
Well, if you notice the way we constructed it, you're going to be able to come in. There's not really going to be much area for you to turn around. So you're going to have to be able to come in. All entrances and exits are going to be marked. So you wouldn't be able to go in there. If you notice, we're not putting any parking in front there, so nobody can try to do a U-turn. So, I mean, the way we mandate for our parents, you're going to have clear entrances. The road itself, coming in the driveway, is not going to be
my concern is they pull up to pick up the child in front of the building. The child's not ready, so they sit there. The other people can't come through. It stacks up because there's probably room for 6 or 7 cars before they get out to the road. And now people are backed up out on the highway waiting to come into the daycare at peak hours, obviously.
Well, we currently operate a daycare facility in East Baton Rouge that has 130 kids. The daycare's coming and going is so spread out between a 2-hour period. You don't have at the most more than 10 parents there at one time.
Yeah, but what Howard's saying, though, is when they pick them up, if 2 cars park underneath the covered driveway to go get their kids, you've now blocked your whole entrance to all your parking. So how would you handle somebody trying to want to get in and park, but yet you got 2 people stuck under the covered drive?
Well, what is not shown here, which the engineer has not completed yet, but on the bottom southwest portion is another entrance, which is going to be an entrance to the parking lot, which is on coming off of Daigle Road. So there's really 2. There's going to be another entrance and exit, pretty much for employees, but parents could be using as well down on the bottom left.
Well, didn't you tell me that all the entrance was going to be off Causey Road and the exit was going to be on Daigle Road?
That is correct for parents.
So anybody that's going to park in your parking lot has got to come through this overhang to get in there. You're telling me nobody's going to come off Daigle Road and go in that parking lot?
Besides the one, there's another that's not shown on this. He left it off, but there's another entrance exit down here on the bottom of the property.
Well, this wouldn't be letting off. This would be have to reconfigure your whole parking lot, because unless you're going right here straight, that's the only way to put a road on there for that parking area.
My concern is we're creating a monster where you've got your entrance and exit set up and the amount of traffic you're going to generate, and I'm concerned about that.
And I mean, we're looking for a variance for the square footage of the building. This hasn't been completely, I mean, we're open to whatever you suggest as far as how you like entrance and exits to be.
This goes back to what you had previously said about conditions.
I mean, if you look at most traffic, I mean, we're hoping to gain some of that traffic as parents. So, not that we would be adding 150 new cars.
Well, young lady back there had mentioned that, you know, traffic is atrocious, okay? And I'll be the first one in the Ascension Parish to jump up and say she's right, 100%.
Well,
okay?
that's something I can't control.
And, you know, because I've lived here a long time, and buddy, let me tell you something. Going somewhere, it takes me 45 minutes to get where it used to take me 10 minutes. Okay?
Right.
And it's aggravating. And these people, you got to understand, these people live there.
Yes.
And I can understand how aggravating it is, because I'm borderline when it comes to that. So, I mean, if you have, Mr. Brad, because this is a discussionary period, if you have a condition, and because I'm in full grants, I can't stand to be held up. I'm sorry, it's just human nature. Okay?
Right.
I have a couple points to make. By way of background, I used a daycare here up until 2 years ago for 5 consecutive years, and the first point is that daycare is awful hard to get in this parish. You have to search, you have to put your name on a waiting list to find one, first of all, that's in your school district that the bus is going to pick up, or else you're going to be busing your children to daycare, then picking them up and busing them to school, which is not applicable. In terms of addressing increased traffic, this is the fastest growing parish in the state of Louisiana every year. We compete with either Livingston Parish or Tangipahoa Parish or its Ascension Parish every year. So increased traffic is a fact of life, whether this daycare is going to be there or not. We're going to get increased traffic. Right? I think this is a wonderful proposal. Our job is not to talk about traffic. Our job is to talk about, are we going to grant this builder and this owner additional square footage for a residential area that is on over 2 acres. That's a large property. I don't think we're going to stop progress. I don't think we're going to stop traffic. This daycare isn't going to improve or hurt traffic in any way whatsoever. I'm all for big daycare centers coming in, being well managed by an individual that's already got a daycare already being inspected in East Baton Rouge Parish.
Let me add to that. In the East Baton Rouge Parish, there's over 290 daycares. In Ascension Parish, y'all only have about 46 for the whole parish. So we're looking to come out here. I mean, we do things right. We provide webcams. I mean, we're one of the top-rated daycares in East Baton Rouge Parish.
I mean,
we have waiting lists for up to 2.
If you drive into McDonald's or a bank going the wrong way, you don't get served. You learn it one time and you don't do it again. If the people that are driving their kids up the wrong way, if the people that are waiting on them to put their kids out there say, look, you went the wrong way, don't do that again, they're not going to do it again. It's no different than driving through the drive-thru at McDonald's. You only make the mistake once.
Well, this is what I was saying. We are responsible for public safety, and if traffic becomes a public safety issue, then we are responsible for it.
And Mr. Chairman, I think it's important to note that these restrictions on these maximum square footages were put into place to try to help control some of that in these residential areas.
Exactly.
And we've denied variances, similar variances.
Is the assumption that it's a half-acre lot as opposed to over 2 acres?
But what I'm saying is, you're saying the traffic is going to come, and I agree with you. We can speed up the process and throw development of this nature in residential areas, which is just going to congest those areas even more.
Do you want a daycare area in a commercial area? Or
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the whole thing doesn't need to be looked at. We've talked about this in the past. We've talked about the square footages maybe need to be bumped up somewhat.
Well, let
maybe
me just
these
tell
areas
you,
need to be looked
as a
at little more
daycare
closely.
owner, there's no daycare owner that would come in and put a 1,500 square foot building. It's not feasible.
Right. I mean, I understand that. I mean,
for
I'm not
that to be
against
in
the
the code,
daycare.
I mean, it's not even feasible.
Yeah, I'm not against the daycare. You know,
Right.
one, I'm just talking about restrictions on the daycare, because I know I have 2 kids that go to daycare every day. Okay,
Right.
but I also know we do the same thing as drive up under a covered drive. Okay, and we back up the street. Okay, the only thing I was looking at is put the parking on the other side, where when you come in, they can go to parking, and the only thing that's blocking is somebody leaving your facility. Okay. That's all I'm looking at. What happens is if you're blocking the entrance, that's where we hold up. If they can't go pull into a parking lot instead, and they got to sit there in that lot, That's what the problem is, and I know because I do it every day now.
So you like parking on the
pretty much on
east
the other
side of the building?
Right, but still keep you in and out the same.
See, and this is still being designed, so we're open to anything. I mean, as long as we get the variance granted, we're
David did make a good point. We are here to give the square footage, a variance on the square footage of the whatever 7875. So,
But the square footage was established for a reason.
and I understand that,
And
but
we have to take that into consideration.
and of course,
But I mean, that's whoever did that does not know daycares because no one will build. That's why maybe there's 46 daycares in Ascension Parish.
Yeah, because residents of 1,500 is just a commercial.
I mean,
residence,
1,500
like
you
a
can't
home
even
business.
open up.
1,500 is just a number. It doesn't.
that ordinance has been there for quite some time.
That
so-
ordinance probably needs to be
and
revisited.
we'll probably send that
I don't disagree with that.
recommendation forward. So.
Now, this is going to be a steel building, over $1 million facility. I mean, it's done. Steel building. It's going to be done right. There's a beautiful at the entrance at the top. There's a huge oak tree that's just dresses up the property. It's going to really look nice.
Any other further discussion? No further discussion. Do we have a motion on the floor?
I do have one question, one before we make a motion. I think we've run into this before. This is Louisiana Highway 929 and Louisiana Highway 30.
930.
930. DOTD is going to be involved in issuing these permits as to where the driveways go and don't go. We've run into that with some of the planning and zoning issues where they've been placed conditions upon them to do things a certain way, and DOTD said, not on our roads. You're going to do them the way we tell you.
And he's still got to go through all the permit issue anyhow. And like I said, I just reiterated what Mr. David had said. We're here to give him the variance on the building size. So do we have a motion on the floor?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the application as requested. I think it was requested to have 9,600 square feet, and we've since amended it through a discussion to 9,375 square feet. Is that what you're asking?
Total under roof.
Right.
Total under roof.
Total under roof, right.
Well, now the 9375 is the building itself. There will be an overhang of a carport.
7875.
So the 9375 is just the building itself.
So what his variance is requesting is 7875 right now. So that's what your motion would have to entail.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to offer a substitute motion where we add that this is requiring it to be a daycare facility and no other use is permitted at this square footage.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion for, now, David, I'm going to reiterate. We have a motion on the floor to approve 7875 square feet variance. And also we have the amendment to that is for that this building be used as daycare facility and daycare only. So what I'm saying is if you try to do anything else with this building, it would. Okay.
Now let me ask one more question. That doesn't cover the carport, right? Is that no? Okay.
That's not in there.
So we have a second by the vice chairman. Any opposition?
Yes.
We have one opposition. Anyone else? Motion carries. Your variance is granted for 7875 and for daycare use only.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is to adjourn.
So moved.
We have any opposition? No opposition? We are adjourned.